Hello, my name is Emily Amon, and today I will be discussing the ethics that are considered in outsourcing and the views on the ethics versus the economy side that goes into outsourcing. So, what is outsourcing? Outsourcing is basically, expanding your growth from your company, whether it's to a different company or to a different state or even international. So instead of making everything, for example, cars, 100% in-house, which is where this kind of all began in the 1980s, was instead of the whole car being made in-house at the factory, the car manufacturer would buy all these different parts from different companies and then put together the vehicle. And that was, their version of outsourcing. So purchasing physical products like those car parts instead of making them all in-house. And then around 2004 is when this growth of outsourcing to what, we kind of think of it is as the international trade end of it. So instead of, the car parts, now all of a sudden we're buying them from different countries and overseas. So it's really expanded to that international trade end of things. And the reason behind it is, it can be cheaper to have, a different company make these products or overseas, as well as, the items may not be accessible in your country, which creates that globalization of depending on each other on, the trading aspect of we're all in this together to be able to help each other out for these goods or services. So what kind of comes into play with this outsourcing is the ethics versus the economy side of it, because you're starting to now play with cultural differences, and companies are now going overseas to foreign countries that now they have to understand their way of doing things, their cultural differences, as well as the laws behind it and their labor laws that go into play. So the pros, I'm kind of doing them kind of pros, cons. So outsourcing is good. Like I said, it brings us all together. It's cutting costs, it's saving companies and building companies for both sides. So, whether the US, for example, puts a company in a different host country, they're giving jobs, they're boosting the economy in that company or that other host country. Ideally is, the ideal side of it was what we would want. And like I said, that it builds that relationship that, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. We're helping each other out. And the products and services that are not available kind of goes into the same things. And in increasing these bonds internationally, finding other skills that are, not even just the product, but the skills that we can find in different areas, and to increase the profits on both sides of things. But to every good thing, there is a downside. So what they're kind of seeing is it's just a quick fix. So instead of training, new employees, this trick of the trade in their own country, they can go to a different country where they may be more knowledgeable on it and skilled on it, hire them, and that's, done deal. They don't have to teach anything. They can find somewhere else to do it. And then that kind of goes into the keeping the jobs at home. It is great to build those international relations, but at the same time, at what cost? Now you're taking away jobs that would be available in the US and giving them to a different country. And what they're kind of seeing is that they're just cutting these costs no matter the outcome of it. So even if they're hiring these people and taking the jobs away from at home, they are, they've run into paying these other workers in these host countries lower than what they would make in the U.S. And so even President Obama, when he was in office, had kind of requested to have restrictions on which industries we are outsourcing for, because they were starting to see in especially the technology realm of the world that they were finding, doing it more and more overseas. As well as the privacy of you're now opening up your company and you're to all these other databases, all these other open things overseas. But I think the big thing is that, I have problem with the ethical side of it is when it comes to the cutting of cost for the business. At what end are they doing this? Are they doing it really to just have this business wealth of it? So that's where, which side is more? Are you doing this? Are you really pure in your intentions of, I want to expand my business, I want to get internationally, I want to help these other countries improve their jobs, improve their economy, or are you doing it because you know that you can pay these workers lower than what you would pay in the U.S., and then that becomes really unethical as taking advantage of this other country and your social responsibility. So overall, outsourcing, I don't see it as a good or bad thing. I think it is, if the intentions are pure, that they're really trying to do this to increase globalization, increase the economy on both ends of it, and not just doing it for a quick fix, being able to find cheaper, other cheaper ways of doing things, and almost being kind of slimy about it. You see a lot of companies that have run into this, and Nike, for example, is a huge one that was under the magnifying glass on their labor laws, what they were taking advantage of, paying children. So really just respecting if you wouldn't do it and treat someone like that in your home country, you shouldn't do that in the host country, as well as understanding their laws, their labor, and their regulations, and their culture behind it. So really helping each other out and keeping that international business relations positive and ethical is the ultimate goal of outsourcing.